Level 1, the conscript. You don't enlist. Nobody enlists. In the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, military service is not a choice. It is a constitutional obligation. Article 86. National defense is the supreme duty and honor of citizens. You are 17 years old. You have completed secondary school, where you learned mathematics, Korean language, and the revolutionary history of the Kim family in roughly equal measure. You can recite the birth date, birthplace, and major accomplishments of Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un, the way a Western student might recite the alphabet. This is not incidental education. This is the foundation upon which your military service will be built, because the Korean People's Army does not exist to defend territory. It exists to defend the Kim dynasty, and every soldier must understand that distinction before they are trusted with a rifle. Your conscription notice arrives. You report to an induction center. Males serve approximately 10 years. Females serve until 23. You read that correctly. 10 years. Not 2 like South Korea. Not 4 like a long American enlistment. A decade. You will enter the military as a teenager and leave it as a man approaching 30 who has spent his entire adult life inside a system designed to ensure that he has no skills, no connections, and no experience that is useful outside of it. Your head is shaved. You are issued a uniform that is either too large or too small because the DPRK's textile industry cannot produce enough uniforms to fit 1.3 million active duty personnel with precision. You are issued a pair of boots. You are not issued adequate food. This will be the defining feature of your service. You are assigned to a unit. Ground forces, most likely, because the Korean People's Army Ground Force is the largest branch, and infantry is where the bodies go. You board a truck. You ride north toward the DMZ. Your service has begun. Level 2, the private. Chansa, the lowest rank in the KPA. You are assigned to an infantry company in a forward deployed division, positioned within 90 miles of the Demilitarized Zone, where 70% of North Korea's active military is concentrated. 700,000 troops, 8,000 artillery systems, 2,000 tanks, all aimed south at Seoul, a city of 10 million people located 35 miles from the border. Your barracks is a concrete building that is unheated in winter because fuel is allocated to units with higher priority, and infantry privates do not have high priority. The temperature in a North Korean winter drops to minus 20 Celsius. You sleep under thin blankets on wooden platforms with 40 other soldiers, and you learn quickly that body heat is a shared resource. Your daily ration is supposed to be 800 grams of rice or corn. It is often less. 600 grams. 500. During the famine years of the 1990s, soldiers received 300 grams or nothing, and units were ordered to supplement their rations by foraging, farming, or raiding civilian food supplies, which they did. The famine is called the Arduous March in official DPRK terminology. Somewhere between 600,000 and 2.5 million people died. The military was fed before the civilians, but fed is a relative term. Soldiers died too. You are hungry every day of your service, not metaphorically, physically. The hunger is constant and low grade, and it affects your concentration and your strength and your ability to train. You train anyway. Drill, marching, political education sessions that last hours and require you to memorize passages from Kim Il-sung's writings and recite them before your unit. Your rifle is a Type 58, the North Korean copy of the AK-47. It was manufactured decades ago, and the maintenance is your responsibility, and spare parts do not exist in adequate supply. You clean it daily because the consequences of a poorly maintained weapon during inspection are severe. Not a reprimand. Physical punishment. Beatings from NCOs are routine and institutional. Level 3, the corporal. Hagup Hasa. You have served 2 to 3 years. Your promotion is based on time in service and political reliability, not merit in the way that Western militaries understand it. Political reliability means several things. It means your family's songbun, the caste system that classifies every North Korean citizen into one of three categories: loyal, wavering, or hostile, based on what your ancestors did during the Korean War and the Japanese occupation. If your grandfather fought for the South or had connections to landowners or Christians, your songbun is hostile, and your military career will never advance beyond the lowest ranks regardless of your competence. If your songbun is loyal, promotion is possible. It means you attend every political education session with visible enthusiasm. It means you report ideological deviations among your fellow soldiers to the political officer assigned to your unit. Every KPA unit has a political officer whose function mirrors the Soviet commissar system. He monitors loyalty. He conducts self-criticism sessions where soldiers confess their ideological shortcomings before the group. He files reports that determine who is promoted and who is punished and who disappears. You have learned to perform loyalty, not feel it, perform it. The distinction is the most important survival skill in the DPRK. You lead a section of 8 to 10 soldiers. Your responsibilities include maintaining their discipline, their equipment, and their political education attendance. You are also responsible for their nutrition, which means you are responsible for the impossible. You organize foraging parties. Your section harvests grass, bark, roots, and wild plants from the hillsides near the base to supplement rations that are biologically insufficient for young men performing manual labor in temperatures that drop to -20. This is not a metaphor or an exaggeration. North Korean soldiers eat grass and boil tree bark into soup. Defectors, the ones who made it across the Tumen River into China or across the DMZ into South Korea, have confirmed this repeatedly and consistently across decades. Level 4, the Sergeant, Hasa to Chungsa. You are a non-commissioned officer now, 4 to 5 years of service. You oversee a platoon, 30 to 40 men, boys, really. The newest conscripts are 17 and they arrive thin and frightened, and you remember being exactly what they are and you feel nothing about it, because feeling is a luxury the KPA does not issue. Your primary duty is not combat readiness, it is construction. The KPA is the largest construction workforce in the DPRK. Soldiers build roads, dams, monuments, apartment buildings, and the tunnels that honeycomb the mountains along the DMZ. Over 11,000 underground military facilities exist in North Korea. Your platoon has spent the last 8 months digging a tunnel complex designed to shelter artillery from aerial bombardment. You dig with hand tools because mechanized equipment is reserved for priority projects, and your tunnel is not a priority project, despite the fact that your commanding officer was told it was a priority project by the political directorate, which means the definition of priority changes depending on who is speaking and to whom. You lose men, not to combat. There's been no combat since 1953. You lose them to accidents in the tunnels, cave-ins that bury conscripts under tons of rock because the shoring is inadequate and the engineering is improvised. You lose them to malnutrition, to tuberculosis that spreads through unheated barracks, to parasitic infections from contaminated water, and to desertion. Desertion from the KPA carries the death penalty, though execution is not always immediate. Sometimes the soldier is returned to his unit and punished publicly as a demonstration. The soldier's family is also punished under the collective punishment doctrine that the DPRK applies to all political crimes. His parents, siblings, and sometimes extended relatives are sent to a political prison camp, a kwanliso, where conditions are indistinguishable from what the outside world would call a concentration camp. You have lost one man to desertion during your service. You are required to file a report. The political officer handled the rest. You don't know what happened to the soldier's family. You don't say it. Level 5, the junior officer. Soe, second lieutenant, commissioned from the Kangkon Military Academy or one of the DPRK's officer training institutions, which combine military instruction with intensive ideological education. If you came from the enlisted ranks, your songbun was reviewed again, your family's loyalty verified again, your political reliability assessed again by officers who understand that allowing an ideologically unreliable man to command soldiers is a risk not to the unit, but to the regime. You command a platoon. The men under you are the same men you served alongside as an NCO, and they know you, which makes the transition awkward in ways that no officer training program addresses. You are now responsible for political education in your platoon as well as military training, and you discover that the two are in constant tension because political education sessions consume hours that could be used for weapons training, physical conditioning, or tactical rehearsal, and yet canceling a political session is an ideological crime that could end your career or your freedom. You are paid, barely. A North Korean junior officer's salary is the equivalent of a few dollars per month. The pay is supplemented by a ration allocation that is marginally better than the enlisted ration, but still insufficient. You supplement your income the way every officer in the KPA supplements their income, through corruption, small-scale theft, skimming rations, selling military supplies on the black market, the Jangmadong, the informal markets that have proliferated since the famine, are where the actual economy of North Korea operates, and the military is deeply enmeshed in it. You are a platoon commander and a small-time black marketeer and a participant in a system of universal corruption, and you see no contradiction in any of it because everyone at every level of the military and the party does exactly the same thing. The system functions only because it is universally corrupt. The official economy is a fiction. The informal economy is where survival happens. Level 6, the senior officer, Chwagun to Chungjwa, captain to lieutenant colonel. You command a company, then a battalion, 500 to 800 soldiers. You've served 12 to 15 years. You are deep inside the system now, deep enough to understand how it actually works, which is nothing like how the political education manuals describe it. The KPA is not a meritocracy. It is a patronage network organized around loyalty to the Kim family and managed through a system of rewards and punishments so total that even the generals live in fear. Promotions are determined by political reliability, personal connections to senior officers within the Workers' Party of Korea, and willingness to participate in the performance of loyalty that the regime requires at every level. You attend mandatory celebrations of Kim Il-sung's birthday, Kim Jong-il's birthday, the founding of the Workers' Party, the founding of the KPA, the anniversary of the Korean War armistice. Each celebration requires your unit to demonstrate ecstatic devotion, weeping, cheering, synchronized displays of gratitude that are choreographed weeks in advance and rehearsed with the same intensity as military exercises, because in the DPRK, the performance of loyalty is a military operation. Soldiers who do not weep convincingly during a ceremony mourning a deceased Kim family member are noted. Soldiers who do not cheer loudly enough are noted. The sincerity behind the performance is irrelevant. What matters is the performance itself. Failure to perform with sufficient visible intensity is reported by the political officer, and reported means filed, and filed means stored in your personal dossier for future use. You have witnessed officers senior to you disappear, arrested, sent to Kwanliso, executed, sometimes for genuine disloyalty, sometimes for insufficient enthusiasm, sometimes for reasons that are never explained because the purpose of arbitrary punishment is not justice but terror. Level 7, the Colonel, Taejwa to Sangjwa. You command a regiment or a brigade, 2,000 to 5,000 soldiers. You are part of the senior military establishment now. You attend briefings at Corps headquarters. You interact with general officers. You are given access to information that ordinary soldiers and junior officers never receive. The actual state of the KPA's readiness, which is significantly worse than the propaganda suggests. Equipment is obsolete by decades. Tanks are 1960s era T-62s, and their Chinese variants, machines that would be destroyed in minutes by the South Korean K-2 Black Panthers positioned across the border. Aircraft are MiG-21s from the 1960s, and a handful of MiG-29s from the late Soviet era that lack spare parts, and whose pilots receive fewer than 20 flight hours per year, because aviation fuel is too scarce to allow adequate training. South Korean pilots fly 120 hours annually. American pilots fly 200. Yours fly 15 to 20 and spend the rest of the year in classrooms studying Juche ideology. The artillery aimed at Seoul is the one genuine capability that keeps the world's attention. Thousands of guns and rocket launchers in hardened positions along the DMZ that could devastate the South Korean capital in the opening hours of any conflict. Everything else is deterioration managed by performance. You file readiness reports that describe your brigade as combat ready because filing an honest report would be career-ending and potentially life-ending. Every colonel files the same report. Every general reads the same reports and knows they are false and files his own report upward saying the same thing. The fiction is structural. Nobody can afford to be the one who tells the truth, because the truth is that the world's fourth largest military is sustained by ideology, fear, and the willingness of 1.3 million people to pretend that a system built on starvation and surveillance is the greatest military force on earth. Level 8. The General. Sojang to Sangjang, Junior General to Superior General. You are among the estimated 2,000 general officers in the KPA, a number so inflated that the rank itself has been diluted into a loyalty reward rather than a marker of military competence. Your promotion was approved by the Central Military Commission, chaired by Kim Jong-un personally. The Supreme Leader signs every general officer promotion. Your name was on a list that was reviewed by party officials who assessed not your battlefield capability, but your family's song bun, your personal loyalty record, your network of political connections, and your willingness to participate in the rituals of devotion that the regime demands of its senior military leaders. You live well by North Korean standards, which is a phrase that contains its own indictment. An apartment in Pyongyang, the showcase capital where only the politically reliable are permitted to reside, access to special stores that stock imported liquor, electronics, and food products unavailable to the 25 million ordinary citizens who subsist on the public distribution system, or, more accurately, on whatever they can buy or barter in the Jangmadang markets. A car and driver. Privileges for your children, including access to elite universities and exemption from the harshest forms of military and labor conscription, but the privileges are conditional and revocable. Kim Jong-un has executed senior military officers with anti-aircraft guns. He has purged dozens of generals since assuming power. His uncle Jang Song-thaek, once the second most powerful man in the country, was executed in 2013. The message is clear and perpetual. No rank protects you. No loyalty is sufficient. No service record is long enough to guarantee survival. You attend state functions, and you clap and you weep on cue, and you tell the Supreme Leader that his military is invincible, and you know that the man sitting next to you is doing the same thing and that one of you may not be here next year. Level 9. The Supreme Commander. There is only one. Kim Jong-un, Marshal of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Korean People's Army, Chairman of the Central Military Commission, General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea, President of the State Affairs Commission. The titles accumulate like armor. He inherited the military at 27 when his father died in 2011. He had no military experience, no combat service, no command history. His authority derives entirely from bloodline. The Kim dynasty has ruled North Korea since 1948, 3 generations, 75 years, the longest-running hereditary dictatorship in the modern world. Grandfather to father to son, each inheriting not just political power but quasi-divine status. Kim Il-sung is the Eternal President, a title he holds despite being dead since 1994. Kim Jong-il is the Eternal General Secretary. Their portraits hang in every home, every office, every barracks. The Supreme Commander's relationship with his military is one of total dominance maintained through total distrust. He promotes generals to ensure loyalty. He purges generals to ensure fear. He rotates commanders to prevent any officer from building an independent power base. He maintains multiple internal security services that spy on the military and on each other. The Korean People's Army exists to serve one function: to keep the Kim family in power. Every soldier, from the 17-year-old private eating grass on a hillside to the general weeping on command at a state celebration, serves that singular purpose: the nuclear weapons program, the ballistic missiles, the million-man army, the artillery aimed at Seoul. All of it exists not to wage war, but to deter the war that would end the dynasty. The Supreme Commander understands this, even if the conscripts do not. The military is not a fighting force. It is a survival mechanism for a family. Level 10, the cycle. Right now, in a village in North Hamgyong Province, or South Pyongan Province, or Kangwon Province, a boy is turning 17. He completed secondary school last month. He can recite the revolutionary achievements of the Kim family from memory. He knows the official history of the Korean War, in which the Americans invaded first and the heroic Korean People's Army defended the fatherland. He does not know the version of history that the rest of the world knows, because the rest of the world does not exist in any form he can access. There's no internet. There are no foreign books. There are no foreign broadcasts that haven't been jammed. The version of reality he inhabits is the only one available, and inside that version, military service is the highest honor a citizen can perform. His conscription notice arrives. His mother cries, not with pride, but with the specific grief of a woman who knows what 10 years in the KPA means. The hunger, the cold, the labor, the beatings, the decade of youth spent in a system that will return her son to her at 27 with no education, no savings, no skills transferable to civilian life, and a body that has been systematically underfed for a decade. She cries, and she says nothing, because saying something is dangerous, and silence is the language of survival in the DPRK just as it is in the KPA. The boy boards the truck. He rides toward the DMZ. He is issued a uniform and a rifle and a ration that will not be enough, and a political education manual that will tell him he is the luckiest soldier on earth. The cycle begins again. It has been beginning again since 1948. It shows no sign of stopping.